Last year, on the 28th of November 2023, I made video on the ZigStar add-on for Home Assistant. That add-on allows you to flash either Silicon Labs or Texas Instruments chipsets, and it allows you to, from within Home Assistant, through UI, flash devices, and that operation usually was very cumbersome. Well, today we will not be looking at that, but instead we will be looking at something else from ZigStar, and that's even better. We will be looking at this Universal Zigbee Gateway, UZG-01, and we'll start in a couple of seconds. What is Universal Zigbee Gateway, or UZG-01? That is a Zigbee coordinator or gateway that allows you to expand or have Zigbee network in Home Assistant. Currently on the market there are tons of USB sticks, but this is not a USB stick. This is actually two devices in one. We'll be talking about all of the functionalities later in the video, but first let's concentrate on the Zigbee part. If you want to build a Zigbee network, you need some kind of a coordinator. Also, it would be beneficial to have routers, and then we have end devices. Coordinators are something like USB sticks a lot of people use, for example Sonoff P or Sonoff E dongle, Sky Connect, etc. Routers are all or almost all Zigbee devices that are powered directly from your mains power line. For example, these can be smart switch, light bulb, etc. Then we have end devices, and those end devices are, for example, door window sensor, temperature sensors, and similar. Let's look at the specs. Device can be powered either via the USB-C connection, and then you can hook it up directly to your Home Assistant, for example, Raspberry Pi, Home Assistant Green, Synology, or Proxmox machine that allows you to pass through the USB connection to the Home Assistant OS or to your Docker, wherever you are running your Home Assistant. But it also can be connected to the Ethernet network via the cable, where you can either power it via the same USB-C cable, or you can use PoE functionality if you have PoE switch on your network, which of course, if you have, is much better way of hooking up this device to your network. But it also has a Wi-Fi connectivity. That means that you can hook it up to your Wi-Fi network and have a Wi-Fi gateway somewhere in your home. Main chips in device are ESP32, LAN 8720, and CH340C. This CH340C is important if you plan to hook up this directly to any host, as you may need to install the drivers. For example, you may need or want to hook it up to your PC to flash it, although I do not know why would you want to do that, because you can do everything via the web interface, because this device also has web interface. All devices that are version 0.2 plus feature inside CC2652P7 from Texas Instruments. Previously this was CC2652PT. This is also plus and minus. Unfortunately, as the new devices get on the market, firmwares need to be developed. The latest firmwares for the P7 are not as good as, for example, for the CC2652RB or similar devices. They still work, but sometimes some people in special circumstances do have issues with them. The good thing is that the P7 version of this Texas Instruments chip allow you to have up to 300 devices. That doesn't mean that all 300 devices can directly hook up to your coordinator. Some of them need to go through the routers, but I think at least 100, if not 150 devices can have direct connection with this coordinator. There are three LEDs on the box. Blue one allows you to see if the device is powered or not. Red is there to show you if the device is working on USB or LAN mode. And then the yellow or white LED allows you to see if the Zigbee to MQTT, but also if ZHA connection with the device is successful. If the device is connected to Home Assistant, the LED should be on. There are also DIY pins available on the board. There is also one button that can be used to configure, adapt, flash, or whatever this device. For example, if you single press it, it will change between the USB and LAN mode. Holding it for 2 to 4 seconds allows you to control the LED's state on and off. Holding it for 4 to 8 seconds will activate the flashing mode, and holding it more than 10 seconds will reset the device. Both ESP32 and the CC2652P can be updated via the LAN, Internet, but also USB. There is one security feature in the firmware and I will show it in a couple of seconds how it works. The device is 73 by 72 by 27 millimeters in size, which is not that small but also not too big. And also it features plug and play functionality, or in this case this means the device comes pre-flashed with the latest available firmware at the time it was shipped, so you just need to provide power or you need to provide PoE Ethernet connection. And the documentation is really well written. Some parts may be improved in future, but those parts I also covered in my previous videos. This ZigStar flasher as add-on for Home Assistant. First thing you need to do is you need to provide power to this device. You can do this by either connecting the USB-C cable and hooking it up to power supply or to your Home Assistant server. Then you need to provide Ethernet connection by the Ethernet cable, or if you have Ethernet PoE switch, you can use that switch to power device without needing USB-C. Also, don't worry if both Ethernet connection and USB-C are connected, there is octocoupler inside the device and you should be safe and nothing should happen to this device, hopefully. Next step is for you to locate the IP address of this device. I have Wi-Fi switches, couple of them. This one is hooked up directly on my desk where this Flex Mini is. I can click on the device and see that the IP address is this one here. We need this IP address so we can access the web interface. And this is the web interface. After you type in the IP address in your web browser, it should access it. And unfortunately, I lost the first footage where I covered the previous release of the firmware. This one is already upgraded to version 0.2.0, but nevertheless, let's go through all the functionality. We have status, where you can see the status of device, information, Ethernet connection, and Wi-Fi if Wi-Fi is enabled. In general settings, we can select the LAN mode, Wi-Fi mode, USB mode, and in USB mode, you have also option to keep network and web server running, if you tick this box. That means that the web server will still be available even if you enable the USB mode. You can toggle the LEDs. If you change the configuration, don't forget to click Save. In the Ethernet, you will see information about your device. One thing I really do recommend is to change from DHCP to fixed IP address. You never know what can happen with your router or DHCP server, so it's best to have fixed IP address for critical devices such as the Zigbee Network Coordinator. That's simple, just flick this switch, type in the IP address, net mask and gateway and click Save. Wi-Fi can currently not be configured. We need to go to General Settings, switch it to Wi-Fi mode, click Save, and then you can configure your Wi-Fi network. Again, I would recommend that you do not use DHCP here and that you specify the fixed IP address. I know a lot of you can lock your dynamic address on your routers, but those things can break. You may replace your router and then you will have issues both finding, locking and setting up again everything inside your Home Assistant. It's much easier to start with the fixed IP address. Well, this is the fun part. Here, you do not need to change anything. Default settings work perfectly. This is the serial speed and the socket port. But the awesome thing here is configuration generator. We have automatic configurations for Zigbee to MQTT, ZHA and USB. Depending on your setup, depending on system you're using, you just go here, click on copy to clipboard, or go here, click on copy to clipboard, and you have configuration ready to be copied inside your Home Assistant. This configuration here is for the Zigbee to MQTT if you are hooking up this device directly to your Home Assistant. In the security, we have three settings. We can disable web server when socket is connected. That means that after you hook up everything, configure everything, start Home Assistant, start Zigbee to MQTT or ZHA, and the connection is successful with the gateway, this web browser or this web interface will be unavailable. You have option to enable web server authentication. You specify username and password. And also one of the awesome features is enable IP whitelist for the socket. If you specify here the IP address of your Home Assistant, then no other device can access this server or gateway via the socket unless it matches this IP address. This is an awesome security feature. If you enable MQTT, you will be able to see the status, information, restart, all of the things for this device inside your Home Assistant. And then we have system tools that allows us to change the name, log refresh interval, restart Zigbee, flash Zigbee, route to reconnect, ESP32 restart, system tools to see the raw data, files, but also do firmware upgrade. In the previous versions of the firmware, you had to manually download the firmware from the website for the ESP32 board. Now we have option to click on this button and install latest firmware directly from GitHub. And the last thing is about information. When you can access the official website, download the latest stable version of the ZigStar firmware, report bug, open ticket, or see about us, about the ZigStar company. Before we continue with adding it to Home Assistant, I want to make sure that I have the latest firmware available. In the add-ons, make sure that you have ZigStar Texas Instrument CC2652P7 firmware flasher enabled. If not, check out the link that will be here, but also check the link in the video description where I will be linking my video on how to install and use that tool. We'll go here, click on configuration, and here you need to configure your network IP address and the port. This is the same IP address and port we can see in the UI of UZG-01. We have to make sure that this one is disabled because we are not using USB, we are using a network flasher. We'll enable this as a latest firmware to be downloaded from the GitHub directly, and also we will enable bootloader mode for network device. Click on Save, click on Info, click Start, and go to Log to check the firmware update progress. And this is it. After we have updated our Zigbee and ESP modules, it's time to add this to Home Assistant. First, we will be adding it via the ZHA. We'll click here on ZHA, copy this socket and IP address, click on Add Integration, ZHA, click on Zigbee Home Automation, Zigbee Home Automation. We will not be using either this dongle here or socket Silicon Labs. We will enter manually, select Texas Instruments, click on Submit, paste here the socket IP address, leave everything as is and click Submit. Depending on your previous configuration, you can now restore automatic backup, upload the manual backup, or create a network. I will click on Restore an automatic backup. Click Finish, and that's it. This is our coordinator CC2652. Here is the information, and it's done. We now have coordinator working in Home Assistant. In my suitcase where I keep stock of spare devices, I'll pick one, we'll power it on, put it in a pairing mode, add device, and soon you will see new device getting paired to your Home Assistant. This should be a simple door window sensor. Test area and back. As you can see, the installation of this Universal Zigbee Gateway is very easy if you are using ZHA, and this device really works nice out of box. To add it to Zigbee to MQTT, copy everything to clipboard. In your favorite text editor, for me this is Visual Studio Code, inside Zigbee to MQTT folder there is configuration.yml file. I will replace this serial part with what I've copied from the configuration wizard. And also inside Advanced Options, I will add Transmit Power 20 because this is a maximum power. Let's go to Settings, Add-ons, Zigbee to MQTT. Let's check the configuration and let's click Start. And soon our Universal Zigbee Gateway 01 should be hooked up to Home Assistant. You can also check the state of the connection if you have started and walked away from a PC directly on the gateway. If everything is correct, the white or the yellow LED on the gateway itself will start to light. And our gateway is up and running. Let's go to Zigbee to MQTT, click on Permit Join, and once again we will be adding this simple door window sensor, and that's it. The device has been successfully added to your Home Assistant. The same procedure with the IP address and the port should work if you are using Wi-Fi connection. If you want to add this device directly to your Home Assistant, for example, connected it directly to your Green, Pi, Synology or whatever, you can use this USB, then copy this information inside your Zigbee to MQTT and check your adapter address, by doing following. Go to Settings, System, Hardware, select 3 dots in the menu, Old Hardware, scroll to TTY USB and find your adapter. Paste that information inside your Zigbee to MQTT like you would do with any other USB stick on the market, and it should work automatically with any type of Home Assistant installation, no matter if you are running Home Assistant OS or if you are running it in Docker. If you haven't used previously Docker your USB stick, don't forget to map that USB stick to the Docker container. But that's a different topic, which I will not be covering in this video. But the question is this a good device? That is $1 million question. Actually not million, but $52.30 question. A lot of you will jump and say, whoa, that's a steep price. And yeah, it's more expensive than, for example, if you would go and buy Sonoff USB dongle P or dongle E. But this device is much more than any other dongle, because we even haven't covered all of the functionalities of this device. We've just talked about Zigbee functionality. And there are things that this device can do besides that. And here I'm not talking about the ports, DIY devices that you can hook up to this and get even more out of it. Actually, this device can also be used as a Bluetooth proxy. Yeah, but there is one note there. If you're interested in ESPHome PoE Bluetooth proxy Zigbee device, then this device is definitely for you. But there is a catch. You can see that this device can work as ESPHome Bluetooth proxy, as ESPHome Bluetooth proxy and Zigbee mixed state, and also as ESPHome Zigbee device. We are currently running it in ESPHome Zigbee state. While it may work okay in the mixed mode, there is always a possibility of radio clash between the Zigbee and Bluetooth. That doesn't mean that the devices will not work. You just may have some kind of potential issues here, and use it at your own risk. May occur interference between Zigbee and Bluetooth. Recommended to test well before using in production environment. This will work, but it will depend on the setup and the environment where you're using this device. Once again, flashing is super easy. You plug in this device directly to the PC where you've opened this page, select if you want to do Bluetooth proxy, mixed or Zigbee, click on install, and that's it. So what do you say now? Is the price of $52.30, probably plus shipping, okay or not? This really depends on your setup. But think out of the box. For example, some of you may have your Home Assistant installed in a rack in a basement or at the attic. And the network quality for the Zigbee network would really be bad if you have coordinator there. By being able to use the network connectivity, you allow yourself to cover more of your home, of course, if you have Ethernet cables. But also you can use the Wi-Fi connection if this device is in range of your Wi-Fi network. Again, think out of the box. For example, you have a garage or you have something that is a bit more further away from your home than the normal access point would cover. You could pull the Ethernet cable there, in your barn for example, and have this device located there. But there are also even more possibilities. Let's say that you have a summer house, or let's say that you want to control multiple homes from one Home Assistant. If you have a summer house and don't have Home Assistant there, have network connectivity, open this port or allow connection between Home Assistant in your location and this device and that location. That can be done either via the VPN or by some port routing, which I do not recommend, but it can be done that way. And then you could have this device hundreds of kilometers or miles away, serving the Zigbee devices at that location, which again is really awesome. In my opinion, yeah, the $52 price is not that cheap, but I do mean that this device is worth it. And I'm saying that with the confidence. This really is a great device, but it depends all on your setup because there is no perfect gateway, no perfect coordinator for all of the system. Each setup, each scenario has its own preferred gateways, connectivities, etc. And by the way, this is not the last coordinator I will be covering in next couple of weeks. Currently on my desk there are additional 4 coordinators, so I am really looking forward to testing each one of them. But before we end the video, I also wanted to show you this. If you configure MQTT on the device itself, in the web interface on the ESP board, you will be able to track the statistics, enable BSL, restart ESP, restart Zigbee network, see the state of the temperature sensor, hostname, IP address, mode, etc., etc. But also remember, before buying any of the products, don't trust YouTubers, because who knows how we test them. Go also to the community forums, Discord servers, ask on Twitter and see what other people think of it and if there are currently known issues. Yes, of course, also check out GitHub repository for known issues. I did it before recording this video. If you did like this video, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really means a lot. Also, if you have any kind of a comment, question, if you have previously bought any ZigStar product or are using ZigStar Flasher, I would like to hear your comment. And before I end up the video, I would like to thank all those wonderful people that are supporting me and that have become YouTube channel members. Thank you all for all of your support. But I would also like to thank all of you that have watched, liked, shared and commented on my videos. Thank you very much. If you too want to support the channel, you can do so by clicking the join button down below and becoming a YouTube channel member for only €2 or $2 per month. You can go to my merchandise store and get something there, or you can send me a super thanks and I will be super thankful for that. I'll be seeing you next time. Until then, bye bye and have fun.